Hello there, all of my creative and crafty lovelies. Today I am in a different environment than you're used to seeing me because I'm gonna share this workstation back here with you in just a moment. Got Hazel, it's my little sidekick. Just enjoying a little snooze. It's been very rainy and cold here today. I personally love this kind of weather, but I digress. So anyway, there was a comment on one of my ADHD videos that I posted, and it's from Angel. I wrote it down so that I remember everything. And Angel says, "Hi there, how are you doing now? Would love to hear a follow-up about any changes that have helped or what aspects about it to differentiate you." And I think that I appreciate the question, first of all. I'm doing well. And yes, I have made some changes. I think in both of the videos that I posted, just for those of you who haven't seen it, I will post cards and I will post the videos in the description below so you can look at that. Basically, just to catch you up, long story short, back in October, I was diagnosed officially with ADHD. Like every box that you could tick was ticked for ADHD. And so there's just been kind of a process since then. We're in February now, right? It's October, November. So 5 months, about 5 months. It's wild. And so it definitely, a lot of emotional things with that, and just trying to find things that I could put into place now that I know that that is a big part of why I don't get things finished, why I feel very discombobulated sometimes, why there are times when my emotions feel like a runaway train that is leaving the station without me, right? So I have put systems in place, so I am more than happy to share that. I think I had started kind of experimenting with some things when I did my last video. And then I love the question about how do you think that differentiates you? So I'm going to break those down and let's talk about that a little bit. So I kind of like to go backwards with the comment and the questions actually, because the differentiation part is the part that I've been kind of mulling around in my mind this week after I saw the comment. And I'm going to basically be speaking a lot from an artist's point of view because that's what I do. That's who I am. It's what I teach, right? And so initially, when you ask an artist, how does this or this differentiate you? We immediately are going to go to how does it differentiate our artwork, right? And so addressing that aspect of it, because this is an arts and crafts channel, right? So I'm sure that's going to interest a lot of people, or at least open up some paths of conversation or thought processes. When I look back, so first of all, anytime you're looking at art, you're looking at the artist, right? And I'm going to use painting as an example because I feel like, I don't know, I'm just going to use painting as an example. Okay, so I look back and I see the artwork that I did in my younger years, right? In my 20s, when I was first starting in high school, and then in my 20s. And, you know, even looking at my work then and things that I'm doing now, and just remembering the processes as well. And even as I have kind of grown in my art education and in my life experiences and seeing other artists' artwork, and especially when I know that person or I know a good deal about that person and I'm looking at their artwork, and you can definitely read that person in it, right? You see their personality in it. I hope that makes sense. So if someone is feeling extremely emotional, the paint strokes are going to be probably, like if they're feeling very anxious or feeling very erratic, the paint strokes are going to come out very erratic, very wild, maybe, you know, think Van Gogh, right? And all those wild brush strokes, right? Or the Fauvists, the bold colors. Like you think of things like that versus if someone has very calm personality or more centered, possibly more neurotypical, I guess, the brush strokes are going to maybe be smoother, maybe be more calm tones, more calm colors. Now that's not necessarily across the board. You can't, art is not black and white. I mean, it can be, but it's not that cut and dry, I guess is the better way to say it. There's always different levels and aspects in there. But so in one way, my whole point with that is I remember in my 20s, especially when I was doing art every day, every day. I was drawing, I was constantly in a sketchbook, I was painting, I was doing 3D, I was art all the time. And I loved the process, but there was always this feeling of impatience, right? Of this, I've got to get it done. I've got to get it. And I think that definitely showed in my artwork from then. Not that it was better or worse than anything that I do now, but it definitely, it differentiates like that time of my life compared to this time of my life, right? So it might be getting way deeper than what your question was. And I'm going to make it make a little more sense in a minute, I hope. But, and it wasn't that I didn't want to be doing it. It wasn't like, oh my God, I have to hurry up and get this finished. But it was more like, I have to get this on the canvas, or I have to get this on the paper before I forget what I'm doing, before I lose my idea, or before the emotion or the moment passes, because I'm not going to get it back, right? I'm not going to remember what I was doing. And so there was that impatience and sort of that that agitation, right? That definitely reads. So I think when you're talking about artists and their artwork, any sort of neurodivergence, any sort of trauma, any sort, even, I mean, it doesn't always have to be painful, right? Any sort of joyful feelings or memories, that's always going to read strongly in the artwork, right? So as far as my art, now I'm seeing, you know, the details in my artwork where I really zone in and I'm embracing the time that I have, and using art kind of as therapy because that's when I'm realizing my mind can be calm and quiet. So I'm seeing the details in there, and I'm seeing the kind of the flow of things in a way that may not happen in someone else's work, where they're trying to be more strategic, I guess. So in that sense, I feel like my work has sort of a flow and a feeling to it that's very intuitive because of the reason that I'm doing certain things, some of the things, especially the drawing things. All right, so hopefully that made sense. And I think if you're an artist listening, it's probably got your wheels turning. Now, as far as how does the ADHD differentiate my work as far as the business aspect of things, as far as life things, I guess, compared to maybe someone who's neurotypical? That's some other things going on there. So coming from the point of view of a single parent who is a completely single parent, it's just me and my kid, and the cats. They're not much help. And I work, right? And then I'm also building my business now. I've made this commitment to say, yes, this is something I can do. This is what I want to do. I don't want to work for someone else for the next 30 years of my life. I want my art to be my work. It's a lot. It's a lot to do. And when you have ADHD, especially, I can't speak for other mental health issues or neurodivergence because I don't have them. But from an ADHD point of view, when you have that much going on, it can be very, very overwhelming. So over the last few months, I have really been thinking about, okay, this is how my brain is wired. How can I use it to my advantage? Because there are advantages as long as you are also making sure you're staying healthy and taking care of yourself, which is hard to do because we forget. We literally forget to do that. We forget to drink water. We forget to eat. Sleeping is like a whole other thing. So I think it's a matter of being very conscious of those things and using them to your advantage. So the biggest one for me is realizing I have limited time and limited time to be creative. So no, I can't just sit down and be like, I'm gonna let the muses flow through me all day long. I'm just gonna whimsically live my life and I'm going to paint and then I'm going to, that's not how it works. Like, we have places to be. I have places to be. I have to make sure somebody has to go to the grocery store. Somebody has to make sure there's food for myself and my child, working obligations, life obligations, all these things. So a lot of times I may only have 10 or 15 minutes to work. And the cool thing about having ADHD is that if you can get into hyper focus, that 10 or 15 minutes can be ridiculously productive. So I say use that to your advantage, right? Take a deep breath, transition from the dishes and the this and the that and and you have 20 minutes before you have to be at work, and you've got something in front of you. And even if it's just a doodle, even if it's just, I want to throw up all my ideas on a piece of paper right now and brain dump, do that, because it provides a release in your mind or to your mind, right? And then you're also doing the work. And those little 15-minute increments, because when we go into hyper focus, like, we can do in 15 minutes what it might take somebody else 30 minutes to do, or an hour. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. So use that, but set alarms. Make sure you're setting, I have alarms set everywhere, and I'll talk about that in a minute when I get more to like steps that I've put into place that have been helping. But use that to your advantage, right? And the ideas are always there. The ideas are your superpower too. So have a notebook, have something where you can just write ideas down in your phone, like in the little notes thing in the phone. I have random ideas that pop into my head where I'm like, oh, let me get that down somewhere, right? Let's do this, this, and this, or screenshot things, whatever you need to do, so that you have access to it later on, because you are going to forget. You're going to forget. Just accept that. But put those systems in place. So the hyper focus is a huge one, right? And I think that definitely can help. But at the same time, realize that it's just going to maybe take longer if you are an adult with responsibilities and you're responsible for other people as well as yourself. That if you're trying to create, if you're trying to build a business, you're not going to be able to do it in 6 months to a year, whereas maybe someone else can. But use those little 15-minute, 20-minute intervals. Use that hour when you have that hour. Get your hyper focus into gear. Be like, everybody leave me alone, and you'd be amazed at what you can get done. Right? So I think that definitely, that's a big one. That is why I can still make videos, why I can still do shows, and because the energy level, the hyperactivity, that's the other part of that. Like, it's really hard for us to be still. So yes, I think it's important to take moments where you're like, I'm just going to take a breath. Maybe I'm going to meditate for 10 minutes, reset and transition. But like, if you have the energy, use it, right? If you can't sleep, try to sleep. If you can't, get up, do something for 20 minutes, go back to bed, right? Instead of laying in bed beating yourself up. So use that energy that you have with ADHD to your advantage. Don't burn yourself out. Rest when you have to, which is really difficult for us, but use that to your advantage too, right? If you want to be doing something, get up and do something. That's it. Okay, so those are ways that I feel like when you have ADHD, it differentiates you from maybe someone who's neurotypical, right? So use your superpowers, right? Now, as far as some of the tips of things that have helped me, again, writing everything down. Like, I wake up sometimes and I'm like, oh, great ideas, but I can't do them all right now. I can't do them all within a week. I can't do them all within a month. So I have pages in the planner that I use. I use the Dream Book Planner, and every week there's like a whole nice big blank page. Sometimes I'm just sitting there in the morning with my coffee and I just write down ideas, or I'm like, oh, remember this thing or remember that thing. And I'm just writing things down. Get it out of your head, onto paper, onto your phone, whatever works for you. I also have notebooks that I keep for like when I get into that hyper focus on some idea of something and I'm like, boom, an hour, I'm researching this thing, and I have my notebook where I write all the information down. It's there. And even if it could be a great idea, but I'm not going to be able to do it within this and this amount of time. I've learned to accept that things take time because we struggle with timelines. We struggle with how long things actually take to happen. But I know that it's all there. So one day when I'm like, I don't know what to do today, and I'm flipping through, I have the ideas there. Or when I'm like, oh, remember that great idea that I forgot about for 6 months or a year, I have that there, and maybe at that time I can get started working on it. So definitely getting things on paper, taking the notes. Sticky notes are great. I have my planner set, and then every once in a while something random pops up. I even put sticky notes like on projects where it makes sense, like, oh, this is a great idea for this and this after I finish this, so I'm going to put that sticky note there because it just makes sense for it to be there. Write things down. Don't be afraid of writing things down. Label things if you need to label things. I think that's totally okay too. Let me think. What else? Okay. Breaks. Transitional breaks. While we're talking about planning things, I was thinking the planner. This is a big one for me, and this is something I teach kids, and several of their parents have talked to me about, trying to create transition times for them. And that really clicked for me because I realized that I just tried to go balls to the wall all day long and just get it done, do the things. And after a few hours, I'm spinning, I'm spiraling, I don't know what's happening anymore. And I'm like, I can't even function, and nothing else happens, right? Your brain can only handle so much. So one thing that I have started doing is creating little transitional breaks for myself, which is huge. Now, if you don't have ADHD, this probably is going to seem silly, but I'm going to use the grocery store as an example because I have to go today. It's one of my least favorite things to do. So when you have ADHD, the grocery store is not just going to the grocery store, getting your stuff, going home, unpacking it. It is, you've got to get ready. You've got to get in the car. You're in the grocery store. You see all the people. You're freaking out because you have so much to process while you're in the grocery store. Then you're making like one decision after another. Just realize that's a legitimate thing called decision-making fatigue, which happens a lot with children. It also happens with adults. If you have ADHD, it's probably going to happen to you. And then you pay for everything. Then you realize you're back in the car. You're driving through traffic. Depending on where you live, that's not delightful. And then you're putting everything away. And then guess what? Somebody's hungry. Now you have to fix food. And you're like, I don't even want to. I'm ordering a pizza. And we're done, right? So it's a lot, right? So what I do is I get ready. I have my list, right? I make sure I have my list. And sometimes I forget my list. I've started taking photos of my list because I'm probably going to forget it. And I just have the photo on my phone. So there's another little tip. But after I'm done in the store, right? I also don't go to the store in a hurry anymore. Like, give yourself time. That's a big part of this too. Like, make sure you have time. If you have to rush from one thing to the next, you're going to be stressed. So a lot of times when I come out of the grocery store, for example, I will just sit in my car for like maybe 2 minutes. I might play like a little match 3 game on my phone just for a couple minutes. It might look like just taking a few deep breaths, zoning out, listening to a song, doing something, right? And just taking kind of that transition from that felt like a lot of chaos with all the people and all the decision making and the noise and the the overstimulation of everything that's in a store, right? And just taking a moment. And it can just look like 1 or 2 minutes, right? Before I start the car and drive home. Those little kind of breaks throughout the day, huge. It helps so much. Just giving yourself those little brain breaks, right? Sometimes it looks like I'm getting antsy, I'm agitated, I'm going to walk around the block 10 minutes. Huge deal. That leads into another tip, exercise, movement, and it doesn't have to be you're going to the gym working out 40 minutes, but taking that 5 to 10 minutes of movement, of exercise, to get out of your head a little bit and to get physical and just to kind of get everything flowing. I don't know the science behind it, but it is massive. Like, that has helped me so much. Now, as far as other health things go, I have started kind of looking into vitamins, nutrition, specifically recommended for people with ADHD, doing different things, dietary things. I'm not going to get too into that right now. I'm still exploring that. So if I find things that I think are really, really helpful, or if that's something you guys are curious about or want to know about, leave it in the comments, let me know. But one thing I have noticed for sure, the binge eating that's involved with ADHD, and I'm not talking about like in, trigger warning, but like in an anorexia, bulimia sort of sense, but more like we just forget to eat because we get so into whatever it is we're doing, or we're like in a minute, and a minute to us ends up being an hour in real time. And so then you get to the point where you're so hungry, you can barely function, you're cranky, you're miserable, you're like, right? And you'll eat anything in sight. So I have become more aware of that and just trying to implement some things to make that less of an issue. Staying hydrated is huge. There are times when I realize, like, if I start getting cranky or headachy or agitated, I'm like, okay, when was the last time I had water? And then sometimes even just drinking some water makes a huge difference. Okay, so I was trying to think of what else, but that's pretty much what I have for the tips. But I am going to take you guys to my workspace real quick, because I think that will help. And I know I talked about it a little bit in the other video, but I'm going to show you guys my workspace and what I've done there that has actually helped me finish projects and get things done and get things listed in my Etsy shop and do a show and keep working on new ideas. I've got stickers for my shop coming soon. I'm excited about that. I actually got my coloring pages uploaded to my Etsy site for digital downloads, and like, these are all things that I've been putting off forever and ever and ever. So I'm going to show you this hot mess of a workspace that I have and how I have my tools organized, and I hope that it can help somebody out there too. Okay, so this is what is supposed to be my kitchen table. We live in a townhouse, and so like it's all basically one big room. But we don't usually eat at the kitchen table. I mean, it is what it is. But I have my coffee here. That's why there's a space cleared. But this is what I've been doing, you guys. So I am trying to make sure, here's my Jean-Michel. He's going with me to work tomorrow. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put him on my bag. We are starting to study Jean-Michel Basquiat with my kids tomorrow. Okay, did I thoroughly make you dizzy with the camera? Apologies. So, but here, and well, I was planning on reading this a little bit this morning, but I got distracted. Imagine that. So this all looks like a kerfuddled mess, but there is actually organization to this madness. So all of this stuff actually goes together. I bought all of this yesterday. You guys may recognize this. I bought it specifically for this. Because I'm working on embroidery. I'm learning embroidery. It is my hyper obsession focus right now. But this is all actually one big thing. It's a video that I am working on for you guys, whoever's interested in the embroidery that I've been doing. I'm not even going to get started because So this is actually, I was working on this morning, but I'm keeping it organized, right? So this is all related to each other. Now, my drawing pens, they're always on the table. And this is my pencil and my compass. These things always stay on the table. These are my microns, extra ones, because I know some of them are about to perish. So these are all my microns because these are always my go-to. If I want to start drawing, I hardly ever actually start with pencil. I usually just go right in with pen. And then I was playing with some pen and ink. So these are kind of a mess. I'm hoping, you guys, I'm hoping. And then these, let's see, these do need to be put away. These are some new ideas that I was working on, for earrings. Just found those. And then these I do need to, I think I wasn't sure if these are finished or not. So yeah, but they did disappear. That is bad. These are the stickers that I started working on, and I just had shipped off for print, not shipped off, but uploaded for printing. So yes, for sure, this little corner needs to be cleaned up. A lot of in progress stuff, but things that are, here's my Luna Lovegood. I had taken her to show my kids too. That's why she's down here. So you see, Nothing's perfect. It's all progress, but I am getting more things done. So the whole point is these are things that I am working on in order. This is just for fun stuff, so it's not really urgent. I won't get into all that right now. But this right here, the reason this is even still here, these are all things I need to photograph and then list from the show that I just did, the stuff that didn't sell. The reason I haven't done it legitimately is that it's very gray and gross, and I have not had good lighting for it. These right here, actually, I also don't feel bad about. These are some alcohol ink images that I created because someone from this show had suggested I get these cards where you can slide the pictures in. So I got those yesterday. I hadn't been able to find them anywhere, so that's why they're still here. And now I've decided I want to do something different, so I need more materials. So it's all actually fairly organized. But what I do, I sit down here and I'm like, this is the thing I'm working on, and it's in front of me. So I'm working on it until it's done, and have legitimately been doing that. Right, so the most urgent thing goes here. So even though it still seems like kind of a mess, something that I heard, I think it was on How to ADHD, amazing channel. If you have ADHD, go there, How to ADHD. And she was talking about her home and her space and the difference between, it was static clutter and clutter in motion, maybe. So, and that makes so much sense to me, because if you have clutter in motion, which is what all of this is, right? I'm actually working on this, and there's a process and it's moving, then you're not going to really forget about it, right? But if it becomes static clutter, like, I don't know, I'm sure there's something here. Here's a perfect example. Let me turn you around. So this is my static clutter. Because this came home from the show and I had 3 extra frames, and I was like, okay, I need to put these things away, and I can frame 3 more of my drawings because I had bought extras by accident. Classic ADHD. But it's been there, and I've just gotten used to kind of walking around it and ignoring it. Static clutter. That's probably just going to be forgotten until I actively say, okay, this is what I'm doing today, right? So one of my biggest tips for you on all of that is be kind to yourself. It's not hurting anybody right there. It's not dangerous. It's not a huge problem. I honestly don't even really have a great place to put any of those. I'm probably just going to have to hang them on the wall. So give yourself grace, right? Baby steps, baby steps. So basically, as I finish a project, like as I finish this video, then all of this is going to get put away, and I know that this is what I'm working on next. So I have kind of a system, right? But I also know that as soon as there's a sunny day, I'm getting photographs of those. Next time I go to the supply store, I'm going to get what I need for that, and I'm going to get those things done as well, right? So create kind of a system for yourself. This I don't know. Some of it's probably going to get thrown away. So yeah, not these. This. Now, one place where I absolutely have to have organization, otherwise I cannot function because it will take forever to find things, is with my tools. So I'm going to flip you guys around again. So all of my paper things are here, and I know that all scrapbook papers, all made papers, you know, things for collage, etc. Like it's all in this bin, and then this bin is, you know, my clear sheets to store things, papers, blank papers, right? So my watercolor, my tracing paper, my mixed media paper. Sketchbooks that are mostly empty, and then reference. Okay, some reference things. So that's all in here. This little bin I've had since college. It's got some random drawing things, but I know exactly what's in there. This guy, this is actually from when I did hair, and I was like, it's perfectly good. I hate to get rid of it. This has also become static clutter because I just don't know where to put it. And it does still have a few hair supplies because I still do my daughter's hair, my mom's hair. But then it also has, I mean, it's beautiful for organizing all these powders and glitters. I've got my clay things down here. So all super organized. And then my beautiful trolley. Like, this is where it just all has to make sense, right? Where I have things organized in a way that I know it's easy to look at. I think that's a huge thing with ADHD. It has to be easy to find, right? Like, that's what's in this, that's what's in this. Like, I don't have to dig for stuff, right? I know this is all my alcohol inks and whatever I need for it. So I think that's another huge one, is to just make sure that whatever you need to work is easy to see. I'm trying to keep that weird light glare out of my face. So you're not having to dig through things or go upstairs and then downstairs, or in this room for that part of what you need to work on and in this room for the other part of what you need to work on. I think the more clearly labeled, the more organized your materials, your tools are, the easier it's going to be for you to actually sit down and get to doing that 20 minutes, hour, 6 hours, however long you have to work. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. So if you guys have any other questions, or even if you have some tips and advice, leave them in the comments below. I hope that was helpful. That's pretty much what I've been doing so far. What I have noticed has helped me a lot in just kind of getting work done, getting things done, and being able to set new goals and work on new things. So let me know down below what you think. And I am, like I said, I'm working on videos right now with that kit that's on the table. Talk about it when we get there. Not my favorite kit. All right, so and I'll be working on some more crafty and creative projects. I'm gonna be doing some cool art things as well very soon. So thank you, Angel, for the comment and for the questions, and I will see you guys very, very soon. I hope everyone has a wonderful, creative, crafty week, day, month, lifetime, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.